I'll just put it out there. Number 4. Oh, by the way, I want to share with you guys something as we go to number 4 here. Okay, so I never use Bing. This is more just a personal funny thing. I never use Bing. Bing is like the search engine that I always find to not help me find what I'm looking for online. But somebody who follows our ministry, the ministry I do online, does use Bing. And they had searched for my name, looking probably for the website or something like that. And Bing does this thing. I'll put it on your screen. Hold on. It does this thing where it like autofills. Hold on a second. I'll get it for you. All right, and there it is. It like autofills. It just searches the internet and grabs data about people and then creates these little things. So this is on the Bing page. This is like what automatically pops up. And this was over a week ago. It's still there today. I just checked for fun. And it says about me, Mike Winger, the description is: the atheist geek is a former Jehovah's Witness turned atheist, a lifelong sci-fi geek, writer wannabe, and moderate liberal pro-science. And then it has data there that's like not accurate at all. And I just think it's hilarious. Oh, here, I can make it a little bigger for those of you that want to see it. There you go. This is the description right down there at the bottom. So what this is there's like an actual atheist who has a Twitter profile called the Atheist Geek, and Bing somehow thinks that's me. It's funny for like 10 different reasons. If I just side note, because I just think this is hilarious. So I'm not a former Jehovah's Witness, but I've actually had multiple Jehovah's Witnesses, or those who are on the fence, or those who are former JWs, come up to me, in person to ask me, like, were you a Jehovah's Witness? Because they think I'm just hiding that I was, because I've just did a lot of work and I tried to use their internal language when I talked about that religious group, and as a way of making sure that I got things accurately and all that. So I've had a number of people ask me if I was a former JW. Sci-fi geek, yeah. Writer wannabe, moderate liberal, and the irony of pro-science. This pro-science is like, anyway. I won't get into it all. My thoughts about modern, funny atheism, internet atheism. That just no offense to the atheists. It's just pro-science. Okay, so we'll go to the next question. This is going to be number 4. This is from Nunya Business. Nunya Business. My brother has a very biblical worldview, despite being an agnostic, in terms of homosexuality and celibacy, etc., based on science. How do I prove that morality, though, comes from God? Okay, so Nunya Business. All right, so you're dealing with someone who's got a pretty consistently biblical perspective on moral issues. Right? That's pretty cool. I like that. And also then your brother's going to have very strong moral opinions. He obviously thinks there's moral truth and there's objective moral truth. So Nunya, I'm going to suggest that to start with, that you consider looking into like potentially C.S. Lewis. Okay, I'm going to give you different tiers, okay? You think about which tier is best for you and your brother. C.S. Lewis talks about the moral argument, and what I really like about C.S. Lewis is he talks about how the moral argument shows that there is a God, and he does it very thoughtfully, but he also does it like in language that connects with normal people, not like just like no offense, my scholarly friends out there, but not like a scholar who have tendencies to talk just. They nuance things so much that nobody knows what they're talking about. And C.S. Lewis really connected with people. So if you look up his moral argument, you could look it up in Mere Christianity, this nice little book. Maybe that's a great book to address and bring to your atheist brother, or your agnostic brother, excuse me. So C.S. Lewis's Mere Christianity, that'd be a nice thing to consider. That'd be like tier 1. Okay, that is if he's not like, say, versed in philosophy, deep in those types of discussions. If he's more versed in philosophy stuff, you could look up, there's a number of Christian philosophers who've put forward moral arguments. And one of them is William Lane Craig, who's talked about the moral argument, and he's very accessible, his content. Another one, I don't know who to recommend on it, but would be someone who's put out what's called the argument from moral knowledge. Okay, these are different arguments. Let me give you guys the lay of the land on a couple of these things, at least as I understand it. The moral argument is, first off, it's not this. It's not, you're aware of morality, because of Christianity. That is not the argument. This is like annoying that it always comes up, but we're not suggesting this. Like, this is not the moral argument for God's existence, nor is it an argument that because God exists, therefore we should believe in morals. Like, because you believe in God, you should believe in morals. That is not the argument either. That is not the argument. We're not saying because God exists, you should believe in morals. Now, that would be true, but that's not the point we're making, right? It's true that like peanut butter and honey sandwiches are good, but we're not talking about that right now. If you've never had one, I'm just saying. You just put the honey on the sandwich bread and you let it sit there for like 2 minutes, and it like does this thing, this like magical honey and bread thing, and then, So, yeah, but we're not talking about that right now. No, we're moving on. And the argument instead is not so from God to morals, but is from morals to God. That's the argument. So somehow we're talking about the fact that morals exist means that, or the best explanation for that is the fact that God exists. And so C.S. Lewis gives thoughtful stuff on this, and William Lane Craig has a good argument on this. You could just Google him. Don't use Bing. The argument then from morality would be that your brother recognizes that there are moral truths, but how does he explain? And maybe this would be one way you could approach it. How does he explain the fact that it not only is wrong, right, to say homosexuality or something like that, or something like murder. Take something really we don't have to debate about. Okay, murder. Well, except when it's abortion, all of a sudden it's confusing, right? Yeah, right. So let's take murder and say everyone agrees murder's wrong, but just the fact that it is wrong, why does that mean I shouldn't do it? This is an interesting question to ask. It's what the philosophers call the is-ought problem. Okay, just because murder is wrong, why is it that I ought not do it? Should parents take care of their kids? Yes, they should. Why? Because it's good for parents to take care of their kids. Yes, okay, just because it's good for them to take care of their kids, why does that mean they have to do it? See, these are things we assume in our worldview, and they should be in our worldview, but we don't think about them, we don't reflect on them. When you start to like nail this down, you realize that like, gosh, if there's no God, it's difficult to figure out why I should do things just because they morally are good. This is not to argue that atheists don't believe in morals or that atheists don't feel like compulsion to do good things or something like that. That again, that's just a distraction. So that's like the is-ought problem. You could talk about that. And basically, we're going to suggest that moral oughtness, it comes from persons. It's a personal quality. And it ultimately is going to come from God, who gives us, who is good, right? That establishes what is God's nature, being good, gives us a grounding for morals just existing in reality. But then God's commands to us, God's instructions to us, God's expectations of us, these are the things that make it so that we ought to do it. So there's an is and an ought. And now that makes sense on God. I never really hear people, rarely, argue against that. What's weird is when you take God out of the picture and you look at the world around you, if there is no God, and you're like, wait, why is it bad to commit murder? Like, why actually, if we're just an explosion, not that we have been, there's an explosion in our history. No, but that's all it is. It's just a random event, undirected, with no intentionality. Chemicals just happened to collide together in a way that eventually led to human thought. Your consciousness doesn't make sense on atheism, on the materialistic worldview. The moral truth doesn't make sense. Where does it come from? Where does like, here's a piece of paper, right? How does moral truth arise out of this matter? It just doesn't make sense. God makes a lot of sense. Atheism doesn't there. I think that's one way in which God has wired us to know that he is real. So none of your business. Those are the things I'd recommend. Check those out. And we will go to question number 5. No more questions. We've got all 20 loaded up. I'm just going to read through them now.